What's good, everyone? Welcome back to My First Kicks. This is episode 145, and this week we welcome Joshton Peas to the podcast. Man, this is a hell of an episode. Get to talk to him a lot about West Coast sneaker culture, the start of Fairfax, and just his work in music and opportunities he's gotten. And it's just a really cool episode, but definitely wanted to talk about the live show that took place on October 24th. In case you just the first time you've listened to this show, this is the first time you heard that there was a live show, which I started getting today. That they didn't know a live show was happening. Which let me just say, Twitter. I promoted it on everything: Twitter, TikTok, IG. I didn't put it on Threads, but I had a live show on October 24th at the comedy shop. I almost said the comedy store. No, not there. But the comedy shop. Shout out to Chris Cheney for allowing me to hop on sold out comedy, and it was a hell. Like the comedy lineup was crazy. The then jumping right into the show after that was. I mean, when I tell you I was nervous, I'm gonna tell you I was nervous. And if you were there, I mean, I hope you had a great time. And if you're listening to this and you were there, thank you for coming out. We had an amazing guest, Jesse Villanueva, who worked at A Life for a good long time. Currently runs Thumpers NYC, and which is a really cool clothing brand. So it was. I can't stress it enough. I'm still debating on when I should or when I should or should I put it up, and or when will I put it up if I put it up. I would love the little like if anybody is really like hyped to see the first live show, please let me know. Would love to hear some feedback on that because it was the first live show, so I ain't gonna tell you it's smooth. It's not like every episode like the like it's definitely not like every episode of this podcast. I was like I said, I was nervous, but got through it, and I will say there will be another one. I want to say I just don't know when. The logistics to put on a live show is, let's just say, daunting. But like I said, maybe there'll be another one. Maybe they won't. There won't. I don't know. But bother Chris Cheney. Actually, hit him up and not that Cheney on Instagram. Tell him you want another live show. And if there's enough people bugging him, I'm pretty sure he'll hit me up and be like, "Yo, we need to do a live show soon." So until then, just like this podcast, shout out to y'all for supporting. Shout out for everyone that came out. Shout out to the guests. Shout out to Chris Cheney. And it's wild. 145 episodes. So this week, jumps on, and Josh. If you are familiar with Josh does a podcast called the Blk Print, which I've been listening to for a really long time, and also he does it with Justin J5, who I've had on this podcast a couple times. So it's like full circle just to have Josh on, and it was real cool. Love, he currently does a lot of stuff with music artists, and he just recently opened up his like most recent line of Ain't Shit Funny. So on to where you can find Josh. You can find him at Joshton Peas. I don't know why I'm fumbling today. At Joshton Peas, JOSHTONPEAS. You can hit him up there. Follow the Blk Print at the BLK pod. That these are all social medias. All social medias. Visit his and cop some merch from ain'tshitfunny.com. That's ain't AINT shit SHIT funny.com. All the stuff, of course, will be in the description of this podcast, and show some support, show some love. Definitely check out the Blk Print. It's a really good podcast. I mean, after you listen to this one, but yes, it's a really good podcast. And you know where to find your boy. I am who is Haas on all social medias. Follow the podcast at My First Kicks Pod. Follow the podcast, or well, subscribe and follow the podcast on YouTube and TikTok at My First Kicks. Please, I need subscribers. Really would love to, well, not only monetize, but also would love to get the ball rolling on YouTube. YouTube podcast is a big thing. Trying to jump in there as much as I can. Trying to tell more stories out here. I love everybody's stories, and the more eyes on the product, the easier the guests are to get. So, hit me up with your first kick story. Again, I don't know why I'm fumbling. Hit me with your my first kick story at myfirstkickspod@gmail.com. And on to this week's guest, Joshton Peas. Hey Josh, welcome to the podcast.
Man, thank you for having me, bro.
No, man, this is a big honor. Been listening to Blk Print since I had J5 on the podcast. So
Okay.
yeah. I just one thing about like listening to you guys talk is it's refreshing because I'm so used to podcasts just being two white guys, and then like once I was like, let me find like stuff. Let me find like people who look like me that actually like that they are interested in stuff like me too. But
Yeah.
after that, it branched off into finding the whole RNC network and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I just heard about what happened with the AMP stuff too. So
Oh yeah, nah, man. R.I.P. Amp,
yeah.
a great platform. Gone too soon.
Hmm.
Hopefully it comes back in some iteration. I think it's good technology. It's a good idea. It just didn't kind of pan out the way the team thought it would. But absolutely loved our time there. We have a show coming up this week. Actually, we're gonna be our final show. We're gonna bring some guests on, so definitely come check it out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check it. This is gonna drop after it, the week
Oh,
after.
okay.
So my bad.
Yeah,
But
no. Well, you missed it. There'll be a replay. We always do the replays on our channel, the Blk Print channel. So, and yeah, like you said, I mean, thank you for the kind words. I think for us, we wanted to create a platform where people like us, who sounded like us, talked about the things we talk about. So, I always am appreciative when people tell me they listen to it and just kind of connect with it because that's what it was brought here for.
no, yeah, facts. I'm one thing about especially like doing this podcast too, and getting tossed into that on TikTok, not TikTok, on Twitter. People were like asking me like, oh yeah, we need more like, they were like pulling me up, being like, yo, we need more black voices. I'm just like, listen, I'm Brazilian and Bangladesh. I'm not like I'm not straight black. Don't throw me in there. But that
Yeah,
I felt weird. I felt weird about it. But I know that people of color's voices aren't just like it's always like the best thing about like the group chat is that it's the group chat. But once you turn the group chat into a podcast, I think people just be like, nah, we gonna get canceled at like 20 episodes in or something.
yeah. I mean, I think the world we live in could be a little too PC sometimes. I think we consume a lot of media besides podcasts, TV, and movies, and music that's super violent and should be canceled. So we should at least have the space to kind of say things that people might not agree with and still understand where they're coming from and have a conversation. But yeah, it is interesting how you kind of take the group chat to the podcast space, and it's like, oh, you can't say that. That's the way of the world, I guess.
It's facts. But for people listening who aren't familiar with you, how about you introduce yourself?
Yeah, man. My name is Joshton Peas, Joshton Peas. I'm just a kid from California, man. Born and raised in Los Angeles. I'll tell people all the time I probably never leave. I've worked in music pretty much all my life. Even before I worked in music, I always just had a very big interest in music and the music business. Um, and I just think that interest has taken me to so many different places and so many different spaces, from the advertising world to tech, to streetwear. I just try to represent myself and represent where I come from in all those spaces.
Yo, I mean, you're way farther than I would ever think I would be if I was in music. So so it's wild,
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
I mean, I think I did this exercise actually on the show. Me, J5, and Mark, we did this exercise where we like, we were just trying to or not even reminisce, but just curious what our younger self would think of who we are currently.
Hmm.
And my younger self would absolutely be proud. I was just so, I've taken this passion and really just this hobby, and I've turned it into a career. And I think that's something that a lot of people would dream of doing. So I never take it for granted. I'm always thankful. It's just a lot of gratitude to the universe for bringing me here.
Yeah, facts, man. And let's hard pivot right into the question that I ask everybody each week, and that question
Mhm.
is, what's your first kicks? What's that first pair of sneakers you absolutely needed to have?
And this wasn't my first pair of kicks. I've been a sneaker head all my life. I think that was passed on from my mom and my dad and my brother.
Hmm.
Um, but for me, the first pair of shoes, I was like, yo, I need those. It was probably the Gary Payton glove, Nike glove.
Hey,
Um,
the
I just
black
remember
black
seeing
pair
those.
or the green pair?
Yeah, I had so many pairs. I had the white and black when I was younger. I had the white and red. Um, these might have been like the Sun of the glove by then, actually. And that was just one of those shoes I just love. Like I think that was like the first new shoe technology where I had the zipper that was just different, and I
Hmm.
remember like running those into the ground. I remember one time I wore my white and red pair. I was going to my aunt's house. And I jumped out of the car and stepped in a pile of shit, and I was heartbroken, man. I was like, I mean, at that time, I was just like, oh, I'll never get this shit out these shoes. I remember like scrubbing them on the ground, like taking them to some water hose and trying to get it out. My grandmother was, or not my grandmother, but my auntie was like, yeah, you can't bring those shoes in the house. Like leave them on the porch.
Oh
And I
man.
don't know, yeah, those shoes were never the same. But absolutely, Gary Payton glove. That was one of my favorite. That's still one of my favorite shoes. I have like a couple pairs right now in my closet.
I've been
Which
looking for a pair for a good minute.
Yeah, I've been looking for like the OG '90s pair. Like if I could find like a white and red pair, like one of them crazy colors they came out with back then, that would make my shoe collection.
All right, let me read a little bit. This is going to be the 2013 release of the glove, just for
Mm,
the listeners to get a little bit background of the shoe. Nike reissues Gary Payton's signature Air Zoom Flight silhouette from 1998 with minimalist makeup that features a black and white construction. Named the glove as a nod to Gary Payton's nickname, the shoe sports an exterior sheath with a zippered construction that conceals the laces. The sneaker reveals red accents on the monkey paw tech, which I didn't even know that was the name of that,
mm.
along the inner booty system, while the Zoom Air unit in the forefoot and heel offers cushioning.
Yeah, no, and that's one thing people didn't notice. If you like unzip it and roll it down,
Mm-hmm.
that like exoskeleton was like supposed to be like a monkey paw, and it was just dope. Like Gary Payton was one of my favorite basketball players too, so that really made it one of my favorite shoes. I remember meeting him too and being like, "Yo, like I had all your shoes growing up." He was like, "Man, that's what's up." So shout out to Gary Payton. Shout out to Gary Payton Jr. too. Gary Payton II. He's in the
Yeah.
NBA. I actually met him when he like was younger. He was like an
Mm-hmm.
Odd Future fan, and he was at one of the concerts. So shout out to them.
Man, that's wild. The see, like I remember going to Foot Locker here because I mean I'm from New York, and so like going to Foot Locker, seeing the glove on the shoes on the wall, picking them up and be like, "Yo, these is crazy!" And then they were selling like a 2-pack of like so you can change the outside
Mm.
on those. I don't know if it's these specifically or if it's the son of the gloves, but I was like, "This is why!" Like it like blew my mind.
Yeah, yeah. That might have been a Sunday glove. I think
Yeah.
that's when they started doing it where you can interchange them. I don't know if I ever had those actually. I might have. I don't know. I just because I had so many pairs of those. I had
Yeah.
like at least when I was younger, I had at least 3 or 4 pairs, and then when I got older, when I re-released them, I had like a couple pairs too. But yeah, no, it's just that was like and if you look at that shoe now, it's very much in vogue now. You see so many shoes with zippers
Hmm.
and just that minimalistic style. Like that's very much a high fashion shoe. I love wearing them with like cargo pants or like some type of like uh cargos or camouflage or
Hmm.
just something that has like a wide a wide leg. I think that's just perfect shoe to just throw your jeans
Well,
over.
you in luck. Jinko jeans are coming back, man. So
Right?
just pull them out, man.
Yeah,
what
yeah.
what was like high school like for you? Were you popping? What was
Yeah, no, high school is one of the best times of my life, and I say that very cautiously because a lot of people peak in high school, and that's just it for them. But no, I had a great time. I had a great group of friends who were some of those guys are still my friends to this day. Most of them, honestly. Growing up in LA for me was very much like I don't know. It's hard to describe because I think LA is such a unique place.
Mhm.
But um, but yeah, high school was dope. I think my shoe collection in high school probably wasn't the best or the greatest, just because like around that time it was like, I think it was like the '80s style was kind of creeping back in. So I remember wearing like a lot of Chucks, and I was wearing Pumas in high school, and like Air Forces were always my thing. So I was wearing Air Forces too.
Mhm.
Um, and just a lot of different shit. Air Force twos. I was kind of big in high school at
Yeah,
one
I
point.
was an Air Force 2 guy as well.
Yeah, yeah. So Air Force, high school at least was when I was a little more adventurous. New Balances, I wore a lot of those in high
Mhm.
school. Um, but I still was like always just a sneakerhead at heart. I think there was never a time where I was like, oh, I'm wearing boots, or oh, I'm into Doc Martens, or like I just
Mhm.
never. Even to this day, I'm not big on that. I have a few dress shoes and things like that, but pretty much still a sneaker guy.
You don't got the Louis Vuittons ready?
Nah, hell no. I got some Marnie boots and some other shit. Just
What was the outfit you I mean, what did you wear to Rock Nation brunch? Cuz I remember listening to that
you know
episode
what?
talking about it.
It's funny. When I went to Rock Nation brunch, I definitely wore shoes or sneakers,
Mhm.
and it definitely didn't let me in. And it wasn't. I don't think it was because of my outfit. Honestly, it was just a clout thing at that point. I think I had a pretty good outfit on for that, but shit happens.
Man, that's wild. I gotta know? What was the first job where you were like, "All right, I'm gonna buy a pair of kicks," and what was the first pair?
Oh yeah, one of my first jobs was at Macy's in the Beverly Center.
Mhm.
And that was like in high school. I bought a lot of clothes at that time, especially just because I was working at a clothing store.
Mhm.
Sneaker wise, I'm trying to think what sneaker. Oh, you know what? I know exactly what it was. It was a Jordan 5, the grapes.
Oh, okay.
Um, Man, I remember I bought those off of it wasn't Nike Talk. Was it ISSS or one of the
ISS, yeah, ISS
yeah.
forums.
Yeah, I bought them off of there for some random guy, like just on the forum,
Mhm.
haggled with him, negotiated. I needed those though. That was definitely one of my favorite shoes in high school. I remember buying those with like one of my first checks. I actually need to rebuy those. That's definitely one of my favorite Jordans that I don't own currently.
Mhm. That I mean, the grapes are iconic. There's definitely like the metallic fives are super iconic.
Yeah,
I mean, I
I
got
have I have the Supreme ones.
yeah,
Yeah,
those are crazy. I mean that camo Supreme joint was. I mean, that
yeah,
was like that was it. I was like, I remember trying a little bit hard for those, but I was working. I used to work and go to school, so like I would work and then all the way up to go to school, and then so I was there was
no
no
free time.
real there was no free time to be like, all right, I'm gonna go wait in line for a pair of kicks. So I
Actually, I got those online when they dropped. I
oh
just
yeah.
luck of the draw. Like I actually got, and I got the black ones or metallic. I guess.
Hmm.
And yeah, I was like, oh shit, like this is crazy. This is like the first, because the black ones were probably the most limited,
Hmm.
and that was the first time I kind of won some shit, and it was like, oh, this, yeah, like or not won, but just kind of got through that
Yeah.
box system everybody is using.
I mean, yeah. Back in the day, the way Supreme was dropping was it was like you either you have to get in right at like 259 or else it's over for you. So like,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, the camo fives were I wanted those pretty bad, and no, never happened for me. So,
yeah.
um, like oh you mentioned that your mom got you on the sneakers. Like how did that happen? Like where did your love from sneakers, like how did that happen?
I mean, I think just for me, it's just growing up in LA. Like my mom just always made sure me and my brother and my sister just always presentable, and like, you know, I look back at pictures of us, taking family photos, and me and my brother in matching outfits and same kicks, same everything. So it was just really just us. It was just us. It was just the culture that we grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
My mom grew up in LA. She's from Belize originally. Um, and yeah, we just, just always had to look the part. Um, and, sneakers was a big part of that. So it's just what it was being a 90s kid.
Yeah, man. I mean, being a '90s kid was wild. That's the like we were. I what was I reading? Something about like we were part of the generation where we grew up with technology or something like that. Where it's like
Yeah.
we're some of the people that we know what it feels like to not have a phone and not have the internet, to know what it is to be on the internet, and then to know what it is to be always on the internet now. So like we lived through like three different generations of I guess progression. I don't know if you want to call it progression.
No, that's real. I think, I remember being outside and not having a phone even. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember my first cell phone and first time having internet, and I had like a web TV instead of a computer. And like now it's like I probably couldn't function without my phone. Like it's just the way of life. So I definitely think we got a taste of all of that. Um, and it's a gift and a curse. I think these kids coming up nowadays grew up all on technology, and they might be a little more savvy and a little more um, just forward thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they kind of miss out on the socializing aspect and just being outside and having to make friends and just having to fend for yourself really and have those street smarts.
No, yeah. Were you part like? Did you get to see like how Fairfax Ave became? Because you said you're like you were LA proper, like you would.
Yeah,
Oh
no, that's
yeah.
definitely. I mean, yeah, I would without a doubt say I'm a reason, or part of the reason why Fairfax is what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember going on Fairfax and there was no stores over there besides Supreme and like Diamond and the
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds on the other side. And that was just like a safe haven for us, like being inner city kids and going to school. I went to Hollywood High, which was a little past Fairfax, and like I have friends that went all to these different schools, but like we went and hung out on Fairfax after school. That was just the
Mm-hmm.
place to be, partly because of the high school right there, which a bunch of our friends went to, and then also just because we all kind of came up in that skate culture.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember just being one of those kids that was just on the block, just hanging out, causing trouble to a
I was
certain
gonna
degree.
say, what is the craziest thing you've seen on that block?
Man, I seen a fucking whole pizza shop burn down.
Jesus, how did
Yeah,
that happen?
I forgot how it happened. I forgot it was something that happened when like a tree catching on fire and the pizza
Uh,
shop caught on fire. Um, the shit was crazy though. I've seen a lot on that block. I've seen car accidents, people fighting, like uh, random people. Like I just randomly came across a photo of like me and Kid Cudi like way
mhm,
back, and like I forgot even I took this photo. But um, but yeah, just shit like that. It's like I remember the first time seeing Future over there, and I
mhm,
remember bringing Drake over there, and like walking with Drake to the fucking Odd Future store to go buy a peas and carrots tea, and like
mhm.
just those moments before people were who they are now. It was just a little quieter back then, but now it's like it's Fairfax is its own thing now. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I went there. So the first time I went to LA, I was like super, like 2017 is when the first time I finally was just like, you know what, I'm gonna just get a credit card and I'm gonna go straight to LA, and I went to Fairfax and I immediately was like, yeah, this is like, I don't know, cause like I don't know if you've been to Soho when Supreme was there, like,
Hmm.
but like way back before it blew up, and it used to just be like everybody's just chilling, like you just stand out front, like your day just
Yeah.
compromised of just standing out front of Supreme and just talking to people, and so and I used to do that a lot too, and when I went over there, I was thinking that I was gonna get that same thing, but I think because it was 2017 and the bubble on Supreme was about
Yeah.
to like I felt like it was about to blow up at that point when I was going. It was I didn't get to like really converse with anybody, and like I wanted to go to round two too because I know that they're a lot more personable in there, and that was like early
Mhm.
on, but I didn't even get to do that, and I I wanted to experience Fairfax for Fairfax, but I couldn't. I
Yeah.
just was too late, I think.
No, it's a evolving micro note organ. I don't know. It's Fairfax is very much. It wasn't what it was back then. it's still evolving right now. I was just over there today because one of my favorite burger spots, Trophies, is over there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just changed a lot, man. Like, I was there like right when school let out. I see all the kids going by, and I'm just like, oh shit, like that's the same energy because kids is always going to be that boost for whatever the scene is, but
Mm-hmm.
it just isn't what it used to be, and that's cool. I think that things are
Yeah.
supposed to change, but yeah, I can understand going to a place and be like, oh, I thought it was gonna be like this, and it wasn't.
I mean, how because you recently went to Japan, so like,
Yeah.
was it what did you get that feeling? Was it like, oh hell, this is crazy?
No, I've been to Japan a few times or
Yeah.
twice. This is my second trip. I love Japan, man. I think every time I go there, I'm just amazed and enthralled, and I fall in love with the country and
Mm-hmm.
and the city that I'm going to. Like I went to Tokyo, Osaka, Osaka, and Osaka. What's one other city I'm blanking on right now?
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it, man. I think for me, that's a place I've always just dreamed about,
Yeah.
and
Same.
being able to go and really soak it in and do it the right way. Um, I look forward to going there for extended period of time. Like maybe
Mm-hmm.
I'll live there one day.
That's wild. I mean, that's one of my dream places to go to, and their sneaker scene there is absolutely nuts. Like all the
Hmm.
stores there are just holding on to old vintage stuff that's never been worn. Like I don't know if
Yeah,
you were I don't know if you were, did you ever get to like visit like Worm or
yeah. I actually went to Worm last time I was there. They got a
mm-hmm,
ton of shit in there, but it's just a lot of small sizes. They got like I wear 12, so they have some 12s and stuff like that. But
mm-hmm,
um, yeah, it's definitely like it's like that's one of the places where you got to kind of like really dig and like really just spend a half a day at.
mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's sneakers are so universal and worldwide that's like you're not going to see anything there that you haven't seen in the states. So
Yeah,
that was my
true.
assessment.
I mean, but like I feel like they're over there they have so much like older stuff. Like you really would like, oh, let me get some stuff from the 90s. I feel like you'd find it there and it's a lot harder to find out here.
I mean, not at Worm at least. I think you might find some older stuff, but like
Mm-hmm.
you know, it isn't such a hidden gem anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like everybody that went through there. Like the week before I got there, Uzi was there. He spent like $30,000. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like people know about it.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta find the hidden spot, and then you go, all right, let me text this to a couple people, and then that's it. Nobody else sees it.
Yeah, that's what you gotta do for sure.
Because I mean, the word dead stock. I mean, well, the original term of dead stock does not exist anymore. Like you're never gonna be
Nah.
able to find a where like you're not gonna go to some mom and pop shop anymore because they're all about to close and or they are closed and be like, yo, I
Yeah.
just found a whole lot of 1987 Air Max ones. Like it's never gonna happen
Yeah.
again like that.
Yeah, those days are over with.
I mean, so I'm not very well versed on the sneaker scene in LA. I know like the main shops, but like how was sneaker culture celebrated out there? Because I know out here in New York we had the couple shops, we had the artists that would be like you'd get your Hazes, your Stash,
Yeah.
Futuras from here. So like what I want to know like what were you able to witness and like how like what was the sneaker because like I've have people on here that'd be like Cortez's was it or I'm trying to think what else the other ones are. I don't know, slip on Vans. I don't know. I feel like somebody said slip on
Yeah.
Vans were crazy out there one time.
No, we definitely had our moments of just like sneakers like that. Like the Cortez, of course, is like a California, Los Angeles staple. I think that's probably more so for like the Latin culture. I think,
Mm-hmm.
growing up, that's just what they wore and not just solely, but I think that was something that was really big there. When I was like in high school, Vans were big just because that was just the pack. And, there's just, that was a time where it's like,
Yeah.
you could find a cheap shoe and kind of latch on to it. Skate culture was kind of having this moment, so that was just
Mm-hmm.
that. But LA has always been like contrary to what people believe, LA's always been a sneaker hub. We've always had Mr. Cartoon Air Forces, and I feel like SBs really kind of made their mark in Los Angeles more than anywhere else.
Hmm.
And that was big when I was younger. Like I remember like all the SB drops and all the skate shops that I just knew of and would just go to and like I remember that was like a point where it's like, okay, we reselling sneakers now. So like we going to Val Surf in the Valley because that was one of the first SB accounts. We're going to Brooklyn Projects because that
Hmm.
was one of the first SB accounts. And like, we're getting everything that's coming out, the What the Dunks, the Mork and Mindy's, the Dinosaur Juniors. Like SB's really was like a real big pivotal moment in my high school era.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think LA's always had like a sneaker culture. We've always been, we've had, like I said, Air Force has always been my favorite shoe. So I always was always looking for the hot Air Forces or just shit that people didn't have. And even the
Yeah.
stuff that people had, it's like, how'd you wear it? How'd you freak it? When they were doing the customized forces, that was a big thing here, airbrushed and
Hmm.
Gucci and Louis Vuitton print. Um, I think that's just always been around. I think we're not like in the mainstream culture looked at as a sneakerhead place, but we definitely get down out here.
Look, I have to jump in here to talk about a change I've decided to make in my mornings. A lot of my friends are coffee drinkers, and simply, I'm not. Caffeine hits me so hard that every cup is like a cup of espresso for me. Recently, I've been decided to take these shots called Magic Mind. Now, let me tell you, these do wonders. I don't get the jitteriness of a cup of coffee from one shot of Magic Mind. Also, I don't even have to force myself to sip a cup of coffee throughout the day and risk staying up all night. Magic Mind has helped me with my morning routine. Also, it's helped me focus on creating content after a long day of work. It's even helping me while recording this podcast that you're listening to and or watching right now. Shout out to those nootropics in every shot. Even though I have a low caffeine tolerance, if you are the opposite of me and you love a cup of joe, guess what? Magic Mind actually helps your body hold on to that caffeine from that cup of coffee all day. Magic Mind is made of all natural ingredients, like matcha. I mean, that's where I get my boost. Ashwagandha to help you relieve stress and anxiety, which you know I need before I bring on a guest. And also cordyceps mushrooms. But it's not like the ones that you've seen on The Last of Us. Instead of taking your immune system away like those do, this one helps your immune system. But if you're interested in joining me in boosting your mornings, visit magicmind.com/mykick20 for 56% off your first subscription and also 20% off of a one-time purchase. And listen, if you are not feeling the magic like I am feeling the magic, Magic Mind has a 100% money back guarantee. No questions asked. But I've been telling everyone about Magic Mind because it's has really been helping me with my everyday. So don't forget to use magicmind.com/mykick20 for 56% off your subscription and get a 30 pack today.
I feel like you guys are. There was, I don't know if you were able to visit this, but I think Soul, is it Soul Collector or Soul something? So,
Yeah.
had like a sneaker, not a bar, but it was like an actually like a sneaker lounge for like a little bit.
Hmm.
I think
Yeah, I don't know
out
if I
there.
visited.
Hmm.
Oh, excuse me. I don't know if I visited. I know maybe Soul Stage, or I probably I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
That's the thing with me and sneakers now. Like I get in and I get out. Like I go get my sneakers that I want. I go home. I'm not really in the culture of it anymore. I'm not
yeah,
just
yeah,
hanging out with people and stuff like that. But yeah, to your point, it's like if you go down Fairfax and Melrose now, it's 90% sneaker resale stores. So it's
yeah,
like still big here.
yeah. I mean, what's your take on sneaker resale stores? Like, what's your
I mean, I
thoughts?
feel like it's too many at this point. Like I think a lot of them are selling the same thing. Panda dunks and dunks
Hmm.
in different variations. I'm curious how that's a business model, more than
Same,
anything.
same. I think there's some money laundering going on, but that's just my hot take on that. But I've had Chris from Syndicate on, so Syndicate is like when I'm gonna go out there for Complex Con, I'm definitely gonna pass by and say what up to the people's at Syndicate.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Syndicate still that's one of the spots I frequent. Like
Hmm.
even when I'm trying to sell shoes and buy shoes, I think shout out to the team there, Manny, Chris. I love what they're doing, man. I love the podcast that they have going on. I love the community that they've built off of that shop.
Yeah.
And they get it. They've been around Riff and Round Two, and
Hmm.
just to see them have their own thing. I love the clothing they're doing, just the way they present themselves on social media. It's dope, man. I really appreciate them, and big shout out to what they've built in a short time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very curious. How did you link up with Anwar and the whole Carrots and Peas, man? Because like I know a little bit
Yeah,
about it, but I don't know like the full grand scope of it.
honestly, it was just like in high school, man. Like we both went to the same high school for ninth grade, LA High, and Anwar was one of those kids who he came from the East Coast, so he kind of had that sensibility of East Coast shit going on. I was just a kid in LA, just into music and into clothing and things like that, and we just connected on that level. Um, Streetwear kind of brought us together too. It was like Peas and Carrots literally was a streetwear brand from its inception. Like it was just
Hmm.
we were together like, oh, we gotta think of a streetwear name or a clothing line name, and Peas and Carrots just came, and then from there we had a blog. Then we started managing an artist, and it just started to snowball from there. But yeah, no, it's just really just us being in school and just having similarities and things that we can kind of like discuss over lunch.
I mean, that's absolutely fire. Like I didn't get into the blog era. I mean, we were. I think did we? Because I know I know you listen to the blog era podcast, and I listen to the blog era
Yeah,
podcast too. But it was just like that's an era where I was like, I saw it, but I didn't really like partake in it. Um,
yeah.
and like listen to it, I was like, this is wild. But having a blog back then was, I feel like I wish I should have done one, but it's all obviously hindsight is 2020. But but the like just the idea of like starting a blog just seems so I guess daunting to me. So like, how were you able to do it?
I mean, it started with like we had a blog spot. And it was just us, just like it was our like, high school adventures. We'd go hang on
Mm-hmm.
Fairfax, take photos, go to a party after, take photos, hanging with going to lunch with our friends, taking photos. So it was just really just us just documenting our lives, and like a lot of it might have been mundane to us and people around us, but to people in Tokyo, New York, and all
Mm-hmm.
different places, it was just a thing. Like, and honestly, it started from like MySpace. It was like MySpace was a big was like the beginning of the blog era, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like my post some MySpace photos, and even we saw it from afar. Like we saw the kids in New York, like Teen Nerd with Tiana Taylor and
Mm-hmm.
ASAP Bari and what's the kids? I always forget their names. Damn, Alien Crew.
Oh,
Like
okay, yeah.
we were in high school, MySpace era, seeing them in New York and be like, okay, like they on the same type of shit, but just in New York. So seeing that snowballed in the blogs, then the blogs just snowballed into the clothing for real.
Yeah, I mean, look, Carrots. Well, and also ain't shit funny is very dope as well. You recently dropped that collection too. That
Thank you.
yeah, that's just dope. I still gotta get. I want that damn the jacket. That varsity jacket was crazy, bro.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, we got. It's for us. It's just like for me, I would say
Mhm.
clothing and that stuff is just like an exercise in like creativity. It's like I'll
Mhm.
call it all an art project. Like if I have an idea, I just make it happen. Um, it's dope, man. I think I'm glad that I have this space to kind of to do that, and people appreciate it and buy it. And I think for me, I just always want to continue to just be creative and find different outlets, no matter what it is: hats, t-shirts, shoes.
Mhm. The that's what like really dope about it because I think a lot of people just definitely and I mean even me included where it's like I doubt myself where I'm like I don't think I should and then hearing you just be like yeah I just put it out and I think that's it, I don't know, how did you get into that mentality of like, yo, I'm just gonna do this?
Um, I don't know, man. I think just since I was younger, like I've always just been like, if I, if I set a goal or if I have an idea, like I just want to see it through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think even growing up in LA, it's like I've seen so much in front of me. Like I've seen Tyler the Creator go on to be a Grammy Award winning artist. I've seen people I went to high school with go to the NBA. Like I've seen people I go to high school with go to the NFL. I never really thought something was impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think that's just kind of what my mindset has always been, and I think I've applied that to myself in different ways, and I never stop going at it.
That shoot, I wish that's like, I think that's the hardest like life lesson I think people need to learn, because it took me 2 years to start this, right? So,
Yeah,
and then I'm like super consistent with it, but it was like the idea of becoming consistent, and even just to cross the threshold to make this thing happen, right? I don't know, I think I was too afraid, like which I'm pretty sure a lot of other people is like, you're too afraid to fail, so you don't try. And it's like, the when you see people who, like Tyler said in like an interview, I think he said, uh, you shouldn't care if you put something out and nobody likes it. You should just care that you put it out, because what's the worst that could happen,
yeah,
or something like that. And that mentality, I think it's just like, I don't think that's a common mentality. I think that's, everybody's just always doubting themselves. Oh, well, me for one, and for you to
yeah.
do that as yourself, that's just like, that's big ass props right there, man.
Nah, thanks, man. I think um, doubt will kill you. I think you got to kind of go into anything with a little bit of confidence and just try your best. I was listening to this podcast earlier, and they just talked about like the difference between winning and losing is very, very small. It's like it's all about repetition and consistency. Like if you continue to do something, you doing something every day, no matter if someone does it 3 times, no matter if someone does it better to you. Well, okay, let me go back. You might have someone who does something every other day. They might do it really, really well, but the person who does it consistently every day is just always going to be better, and they're putting more into the success deposit box because they're doing it repeatedly. And I think that's just something that stuck with me, and I just started that today. But I think it's something that is going to stick with me forever. And I think we all can achieve the things that we dream about if we're just consistent with it and we keep pushing towards that goal. That's been a constant theme in my life that I haven't really put my finger on until recently. But anything I've done in life is because I've done it all the time. Like I was a kid who always read music magazines. Every month I bought a music magazine, and it wasn't because I was reading the cover story or just looking at the pictures. I was looking at what the manager was talking about and what the engineer was talking about, and even the writers. Like I knew the writers, and now I'm working with the writers, and they're in different positions. And some of the writers are my mentors. It's because I really cared about what was behind the music, and that's just a testament to my life right now. So yeah, man, just gotta keep being consistent, keep putting that consistency into your goals, and you'll eventually achieve them. I think it's funny. It used to sound really corny to me, like, oh, you gotta make goals and set goals, but you know, having a list of things that you want to do and
Mm-hmm.
looking at that list every day and verbalizing that list every day is probably one of the keys to life, man. I think, and I learned that recently as well. I just think having goals is super important, and I encourage anyone listening you to just write your goals down, say them every morning, and eventually you'll hit them.
I shoot, that's, I'm gonna definitely, because like I've always thought, well, I mean, not to shit on anybody that thinks that these are great, but I've always thought that like goal boards were like pointless in my head, and I never did it. But until I started this, like this year, I want to say, I was just like, now, and even you talking about it, I was like, damn, I should really make this goal board. And I don't know, do you use goal boards? Well, like, or do you just write them out?
Nah, I want to. I haven't. I can't. You know what? I probably was in the same boat with you, thinking that was a little bit corny. I think just because, and it wasn't even that so much it was corny, it's just how elaborate it had to be.
Yeah.
But it's like, bro, you can literally just write them in your journal, write them on your whiteboard, and look at that daily and verbalize that daily. That's enough. It's just having the intention about it and having attention to that detail. That's all it's about, man. I think the way you do it is up to you, but just having those goals is super key, man. I think that's I really learned it recently, and I'm like, oh shit. But I look back at my life, I'm like, oh, like the things I've accomplished, I did say, oh, I want to do this, or oh, I want to do that, and it's come true in some form or fashion.
I'm big into just like if you want something to happen, you will like if you keep saying it or keep having it front of mind, it will happen. Like I mean, I do this with like meeting people for some reason. Like I'll be like, oh man, I want to meet let's see for example, well. I want to meet Dave Ortiz or have Dave Ortiz on my podcast. Yeah. So I for like a year straight, I was just like, yeah, I can't. Hopefully, I'll get Dave. Then, you know, I reached out, get a response, and I think I took the steps to make the goal happen, but because that's only because I kept being like, it's front of mind, it's right here. I want to make this happen, and I
Yeah,
think you subconsciously you start making those steps and you inch closer and closer and closer. You know, um, it's I like accomplishing stuff, especially in like a career, is so much about like you have to be goal oriented or else you won't get far, right? You'll just be stagnant. And I don't know, I think when you
hmm
become stagnant, people just be like, all right man, like you start checking out, people noticing you start checking out, and it's not conducive to like if you want to actually have like a long career in something.
yeah. No, you're right.
So like I don't know how you and J5 got together, but I know like like I said, I've been listening to Blk Print. So like how did those two how did you two connect to make this happen? Because first of all, you're
Um,
part of some of the most really good duos. So it's it's you and Carrots, and then you and J5. So yeah.
yeah, nah. I mean, me and Justin kind of just connected over the internet. He was a writer at Complex, and he was doing some
Mhm.
different things, writing in different places. And I just always thought he had a good perspective on things, and a like-minded perspective. And we just became friends, honestly. Um, and that's just really how it kind of grew. I remember he moved to LA. We kind of hung out a few times, and um, he worked with me at one point when we were at like
Mhm.
a agency. So he's just always been one of those guys I just appreciate just how they think about the world,
Mhm.
and I like to keep those people close.
No, yeah, it's all about that. Like one other thing that will push you far is having people that will, you know, make your foundation, but also will help you move forward. Like you when you see
Hmm.
them doing well, you be like, yo, I gotta do well too. Like like I
Yeah,
think that's like Justin's definitely J5's like he's definitely one of these dudes that he doesn't stay still. He's always like, what's the next move? And you feel it. Like I mean, when I talk to him, you feel it. Like I'm like, yeah, man, I got you. Don't worry about it.
yeah, no, he's a good motivator, just a good friend overall.
Hmm.
Very thankful for meeting him. I think even with just the Black Print and what we've done in the podcast front, we wouldn't be doing this without him. I think there's been times where I haven't been the most motivated around it, but he's always reminded me the reasons why we do it, and I appreciate him for that.
Yeah, facts. I mean, you guys building an empire, in my opinion. I think it's definitely you guys are filling a void in voice because like even if it's just life stuff that you guys talk about, which I think is awesome. Like who's next is gonna be like you got as soon as you turn off that podcast, your podcast, you're gonna go to Joe Button and listen to Joe Button just yell at you all day. Like, it's
Yeah,
a,
no, I'm glad you mentioned that too. I think there's always room for different voices in the space, and
mhm.
um, it's like TV. You can't watch the same thing every day. So I'm glad we able to provide some variety to it, to what's going on.
No, facts. I mean, well, back to sneakers, right? So, like, I don't know if you're, are you very current? Like, what is your process? Have you ever waited on lines for kicks? Like, or are you just like, you invoice people? No, I was just saying, you invoice boys.
No,
Like, that's what we call people who get
um,
get the email.
Yeah, I got some invoice boys. It's funny. I just got my born and raised SBs yesterday. It just came, but yeah, I was like on a friends and family list. RIP Sponso. Shout out to all the
R.I.P.
guys over there. Alex, Brian. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the last time I waited in line for a shoe, or even when I've waited in line for a shoe. Like I think all my life I've just been lucky to know people in the right place and kind of just have a hookup of some sort. Um, yeah, I mean, as far as sneakers, like I don't like I'm not a Jordan guy, so I'm not like waiting for the Jordans to come out or anything like that. Um, the last, I guess, hype kind of shoe that I got was oh, I got the Terror Squad Air Forces.
Oh yeah.
Even those, like they did like a raffle at Undefeated out here, and I was like, oh, a raffle, like what the fuck? So I just ended up going to Kith. They just had them, and honestly, the Kith didn't even have them out. They had them in the back still, and I just asked somebody, and they're like, oh yeah, what size you need? So I try to stay away from lines and raffles. Like if it's that, then I'll probably miss out, or I'll just buy it on StockX. I just don't have the time, honestly, and like
Right.
this has
Yeah.
never been my thing. And I like to my point or your point. I think I'm not a hype shoe guy. Like the shoes I wear are just very much classic sneakers. Um, there's not too much that like there's not too many sneakers that I want that are like overly prized.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not necessarily talking about hype sneakers. I'm all about, especially like if the listeners know this, like I'm all about just like if a shoe hits you and like if it connects with you, then that's how I spend my money because I know like
Yeah,
especially like because I grew up in the SB days too, so like it was literally just every SB that dropped, I gotta have it, I gotta have it, I gotta have it, and then I mean, when you broke. So, like, you start moving stuff around and you realize, okay, I can't live off of 7-Eleven sandwiches for 2 weeks again because I want to get
yeah,
these kicks. So, I was now I'm in, I've ever since that moment where I had that realization where, because like I think I sold like 3 pairs of sneakers and it was like 4 months in between like of
yeah.
me selling the pairs, and I was just like I can't be like check to check and then have the sneakers because I'm gonna end up selling them to pay a bill. So I was always just like,
That's real.
yeah, so I was always just like, if I have the money and I like the shoe and I want the shoe, or even if it means something to me, then I'll spend my money. I don't just be like, all right, here you go, blah blah blah, what's the hot
Yeah,
shit, let me get it.
yeah. I have so many Air Forces. I got to a point where it's like I don't have the space for this shit no more. I'm trying to figure out how to like sell shoes and just like some of this shit just isn't worth anything to anybody. But yeah, nah, I
Donate
think
them, man. You gotta donate them.
yeah, donating them is definitely an option.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, I definitely have gotten out of the habit of just buying shoes just to buy them. The last shoe that I was like, oh, I need that was probably the Nike Footscapes that just came out.
Yeah, the
I've always been a fan of that. Yeah, the
cow joint.
cowhide joints. Yeah, I've always been a fan of that shoe, and I never had a pair. And when these came out, I was like, oh, I need them, and I probably worn them a couple of times. So I probably won't wear them ever again, honestly.
Are you well, because I know the leather, it's inside, the interior of it is like leather, right? Are you like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just barefoot these and let them rock out?
Nah, I wore them with socks. I'm not really a barefoot guy. I don't like even when I wear my Crocs, I always wear socks.
Oh, civilized, because a lot of people out here they'd be like, nah, man, we rocking these. They look like they smell. Like
Nah,
I don't know how people
can't
do
do
it, man.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, it's wild. I mean, I don't know. So I don't mess with Crocs. Even though I was very close to buying the Carrots Crocs because like it's the only one that I actually like was like,
yeah.
this is kind of dope. But I don't like Crocs at all, and it's I can't even explain like how did this craze even happen? But and I get that they're comfortable, but I don't know,
That's what
something
it
about
is,
me
though.
don't do it, man.
Nah, that's what it is. I mean, for me, it's just a comfortable throw on little shoe, run some errands, take out the trash. I have the carrots ones. I have like all the Salehi ones.
Yeah.
I have like 4 colors of those. I was kind of like, it's just something to throw on. Like I wouldn't like throw them on to fit and go to work or anything like that. But if I gotta go to the grocery store real quick, that's the perfect shoe.
You got to bring those to Rock Nation, the Rock Nation brunch, and let those.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised somebody hasn't done it already.
So I mean, the only person that could probably do it would probably be Salehi. They'd be like, "Yo, they my shoes." The like, has there ever been a moment where like an artist hooked you up with like a pair too?
Yeah, no, man. Shout out to Travis Scott. Definitely hooked me up with a few pair of his sneakers
Mm-hmm.
before. Um, who else? That's really it. Honestly, I'm trying to think
You
of who
took
else has
Drake.
sneakers.
You took Drake to go cop some carrots and peas and peas and
Yeah,
carrots, and he still ain't hooked you up with a OVO
nah.
Jordan.
Shout out to Drake. Shout out to the OVO. I don't have any pair of the OVO anything. I actually should have got. I wanted to get the Air Forces he put out,
Mm-hmm.
but I got like so many white pair of Air Forces. I was like, this isn't necessary. Um, but shout out to Drake. Shout out to OVO. The album's cool. I fucking with it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll keep my opinions off the album. It's just
All
it's
right.
alright. It's alright. That's it. That's all we got. That's all you. I'm not Anthony Fantano. I don't like.
Okay.
Nobody's coming here to be like what.
Nah, I
Like,
hear you.
but I mean, it's crazy that you. Well, first, it's crazy you were able to just like get Travis Scott's gift. Like, well, he hooked you up with those because I mean, that's a
No,
first.
Travis is my dog.
Yeah.
Travis is my dog. All the Cactus Jack kids, dudes, those are
Mm-hmm.
people I came up with, who are, just uh, established a friendship throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's funny too because it's like I'm not like I said, I don't wear a lot of Jordans, but
Mm-hmm.
I want the low top black ones, and he came through for me. So he's always been able to. He's always picked up the phone when I've asked. So I appreciate
That's,
that.
I mean, that's so dope. I don't even know like a world where that's a possibility for anybody, even in my circle, where they'd be like, "Yo, man, I got my own Jordan coming out." They're like, "Really?"
It's possible, man. You gotta set that goal.
Okay, I'm gonna have to
Or
start.
someone in your circle got to set that goal.
I'm gonna start telling all my friends, be like, "Yo, man, I need you to want to be. I need you to want to get big enough to get a Jordan collab." um, I mean, it's wild. Like you're working in music, and now like the whole cross pollination of, I mean, at the end of the day, I always contribute like sneaker culture and hip hop culture go hand in hand, and you know it's wild that you're able to like work in music, especially with now where like brands are just specifically looking to work with artists and stuff like that to make stuff happen. It's super wild. Like I don't know, like have you been able to see some stuff like firsthand?
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole cross pollination started not too long ago, and I've seen it from the beginning. Uh, yeah, man, I think like when I was working with Casey Veggies and we first went over to Puma, it was like Puma had Rihanna and Meek Mill and Casey really, so it was like just to see how they grew that business and how Puma is like now. I mean, they've always been a player in the sports business, but not in the culture space.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that firsthand was really dope. Seeing the first Fenty sneaker launch and the Slide launch first, and how that was a big hit. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that stuff up close, and thought, this is the next generation. I remember really early on, I was at an agency, and it's like, I think this was the first time we started thinking like, hey, artists are the new athlete,
Mm-hmm.
and now that's like more true, more than ever. If you look at the shoe landscape, there's probably more artists. Well, I wouldn't say that exactly, but there's a ton of artists with shoe deals, just as many as athletes. So it's all about if you can push the product or not, and if you can influence the masses, and artists have more chances at that, more cooler chances. Especially with the rise of social media and just
Mm-hmm.
how fast music and movies travel.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, you can even look at like, well, Tyler with golf, like the idea of just the way he branched out to where, he's I want to say like multifaceted, like a multifaceted creative, I want to say. The like when he first started doing like his Converses and the Odd Future Converses and stuff like that, and then from there just like branching out into making his own brand, like the way that music artists are able to just be more, I want to say like just design based, because like I mean when it comes to like basketball players, obviously the sneakers are going to be more about the the technology within the shoe, you know.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. It's like artists are when you look at our artists and what they've done, they're easier to get to. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to be like, oh, I'm gonna play like LeBron, but it's like, oh, I could dress like Tyler. I think that's um, a closer relationship. And yeah, shout out to Tyler. I think he's just one of those. He's a genius, man. Like that, I've never met another person like him. Um, I'm excited for everything he does. The
Mm-hmm.
Lacoste drop just happened last week, and that was super dope. And I love what he's doing with Golf Lafleur, and even just what he's doing, in the music and space with the festival. I think all
Mm-hmm.
that shit is just like super dope, and um, he's just top notch, top tier.
I agree. I agree. I also think he's a genius too. And I don't know if you ever listened to his episode of Dissect, or his season of Dissect. You ever listen to
Hmm.
that?
Yeah,
That podcast is like one of my favorites, especially because just like how in depth they get with the music. But like when they did Tyler's season of like how he worked the music to like also be a message as well. Like it was just I was like, this dude's a genius, man. Like it's
yeah, yeah.
crazy. um, well, listen. Now we're at the towards the end of the podcast. I do ask another question, and that question involves for you to take a trip down memory lane back, back to you getting that first pair of kicks, the gloves. So I want you to vision yourself, you, young Josh Peas, about to open that box. Now you, current Josh Peas, right behind yourself, your younger self. What would you tell your younger self as they open that box?
Watch out for that shit on the curb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, man. I think who I was then is very much who I am now.
Mhm.
Um, I think if anything, I tell him save his money, don't spend it all on sneakers. Not that I have in my past, but I think looking back, I'm like, okay, some of these shoes I love, a lot of these shoes I don't love.
Mhm.
But it's more so just about the experience and having something to show for it. So save.
Save up. Tell young Peas, save up, man.
Hmm.
Josh, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast, man. Huge honor, like I said. And for everybody out there, you know what we say each week: wear your kicks. Peace.